Hi, this is Mr. Frazier, and we're going to go over the quiz corrections real quick. Just so that you understand, quiz corrections are a way for them to improve their quiz grade. They get a half a point back for every point they miss. Everyone is eligible to do them. Doesn't matter what their grade was. The idea of quiz corrections is so that they are mastering things so that they can do well on their test, because their test is big. All right, so really quick, they are supposed to write out the original question, which would include the prompt. Okay, they have to correct the problem. That means have the right answer. But the big part is they have to tell me what they did wrong from the original quiz. So they'll turn in the original quiz with their quiz corrections, and it should say on the original quiz what they got wrong or what they did wrong. Like for some of them, they didn't use parentheses to put the units in. Units always go in parentheses. Some of them switched dependent and independent. They didn't have the right one labeled. Some of them only put feet and years, which are the units. But you're supposed to tell me years are a measurement of time and feet measures height. Okay, so how do we do this? What they're supposed to do is read it. They circle the word per, and the word after per is always your independent. So year is the quantity or the unit for independent. Now they will usually give you the units. You have to figure out, what does years measure? It measures time. So it'll be time in years. Now the nice part is the table should do the same thing. Like this is your independence, otherwise known as your X, otherwise known as your inputs. You have to know that they're all called the same thing. Okay? Just like these are known as your outputs and your Y's. Okay? And your f of x's. These all mean the same thing. You have to know that by now. In this case, it was h of t. Okay? And most people did the table correctly. They just didn't start at 0, 0. Hopefully you know that when you plant something, it hasn't grown anything in 0 years. So 0 years go by, it didn't grow anything. Then after year 1, it grew 3.5 feet. Okay? All right. Then the next part was writing it as a function notation. The big thing about this is making sure that the letter you use inside the parentheses matches the letter in the problem. Now, when we read this and we go per year, every time you read the independent, you go ahead and put an X over the independent because that's what it is. It's the X. And now when you read the number, you see 3.5x. Oh, wow. Well, that makes it easy. 3.5x. That's my notation. Why do I not have to add or subtract anything to it? Because we started at 0. It's just like the plane taking off. We didn't add anything to that problem because the plane started on the ground. But the problem where we started in the air, we were at 36,000 feet. We had to add 36,000 feet to our problem because that's where we started. Okay, most of you know what we're talking about because it's referring back to the bookwork we did in class. This last one here people had an issue with is because they did not put height in feet and they did not put time in years. Remember, the units are the only thing that go in the parentheses. And you should know that the T is your X, which is your years, which is always on the bottom, your independent is, and your dependent is always on the left. Then we get to the intervals. Now you notice here the intervals were already given to you. They were in 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Now I darkened these out because sometimes in your book, as well as in the software, they're going to leave spaces there. And you have to know that they're still counting by 2s. It's what it takes to get to every line. Every line is equally spaced. So they may only put 4 and 8 and 12. But you have to know they're counting by 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. Okay, and the same thing can happen down here. They might have all of these blocked out. The intervals are not 4. The intervals are still 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. They just didn't write down the numbers 1, 2, and 3. And then, of course, it would say 5. There would be no 5, 6, or 7. It would just say 8. And some of you go, well, the interval's 4. No, it's not. Because just because there's 4 here, it's the distance from one line to the next. That is what your interval is. And in this case, it would be 1 because we go 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? Well, there's your quiz corrections. Hopefully you finish them, turn them in. Have a great night.